You're listening to No Proof Required, the podcast.
I don't need no proof to know that I need you. No.
Hello, and welcome to Proof in the Shadows, a special series within the No Proof Required podcast, where I take you behind the scenes of my wildest work stories. I'm Jess Linvell, and today's tale is about a wedding that nearly turned into a disaster. The Wasserbrothel. That's what I named it. However, we're talking about the Wasserbahn. Yes, my Iowa peeps know what I'm talking about. This was a charming but eventually declining hotel that opened in the 1970s in Little Amana, Iowa. I was back there for my second stint under new ownership, and the staff had dwindled from about 140 to less than 40. The hotel had its own well, supplying water to the entire resort. With the reduced staff, housekeepers were testing the water and sending the results to the Department of Natural Resources. Clearly, I see some issues. One evening, after working late, setting up a wedding for 400 people with my 3-month-old son at home, I got a call from my boss. He had this thick Korean accent, and he told me, "Jessica, the building is shut down. There's E. coli in the water. We can't have the wedding tomorrow." I was stunned and quickly drove out to the hotel, and I arrived around 9:30 p.m. The health department said we could salvage the food and alcohol that hadn't touched the contaminated water, so we had to move fast. We thought of everything that we could. We thought about possibly having guests eat next door and still having the party there at the resort. It was something where no one knew what to do, not even seasoned event planners in my life. I called around all night and eventually got a hold of a bellhop at the Marriott in Coralville around 2 a.m., and we were able to secure their open ballroom by 4 a.m. The Marriott had experience handling emergencies like this, having gotten help for similar situations during the flood of 2008. They were ready to assist. With a skeleton crew, myself, my boss, his wife, 2 prep cooks who usually only worked mornings, 2 assistant bartenders, and 1 banquet server, we were able to relocate all of the food, decorations, and alcohol. Once we had the Coralville Marriott secured as a location, we were also able to relocate the guests. Early the next morning, I'd called the mother of the bride to inform her that we'd be moving the wedding and reception to the Coralville Marriott. She said that she'd gotten some word that something was going on, but out of respect, I didn't want to call her until the waking hours. The Marriott team went above and beyond to set everything up. The wedding turned out beautifully. My boss even said, "Where we work, it's like hell. You go here, it's like heaven. Look at this beautiful place." Man, they had such a great time. They actually ended up purchasing 2 additional kegs during the wedding party. I worked about 42 hours straight that weekend, and when people ask me about a time I was faced with a challenge, this is my go-to story. I had a post-conference meeting with the folks at the Coralville Marriott and my boss. They charged us $6,000 for the 2 additional kegs and all of the emergency setup and staff that they provided to be able to make this happen. My boss felt like because they had the heaven wedding and we lived in hell, that they should have to pay this extra $6,000. After meeting with the family that morning, when I had to tell them the news and talk with them about what was going to go on, I knew that I wasn't about to ask them that. It wasn't their fault that this had happened. It was definitely the fault of the resort manager who needed to talk with my boss. Unfortunately, if you haven't heard, Wasserbahn continued to decline over the years, and it's now closed. Today, although marked off and chained up, fenced around, it's a popular spot for urban explorers and can be found in photos taken by people venturing into abandoned buildings. If you have a wild work story or hidden drama you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me here on social at no.proof.required or noproofrequired.org, and you can be featured in an upcoming episode. Thanks for listening to Proof in the Shadows, part of the No Proof Required podcast. Stay tuned for more stories and conversations about living free, no proof required. You've been listening to No Proof Required, the podcast, produced and edited by Jess Linvell, Chief of Clarity and Connection. Theme music is licensed, credited, and performed by Megan Rochelle and her ministry. No Proof Required is a registered 501c3 nonprofit in the state of Iowa. All themes in this episode are presented for comedic representation and are not to be taken as advice. For more information, please visit noproofrequired.org.